Hello everybody, it's Verda here, and today we're going to be benchmarking XDefiant, which is a brand new game which technically released yesterday, I believe, and I'm benchmarking today the RTX 3060 Ti. I'm pairing it up with the Ryzen 7 7800X 3D, so we shouldn't see any bottlenecks because of the CPU. We've also got 32GB of DDR5 6000MHz RAM, and there was some driver updates yesterday from Nvidia, and I've gone ahead and installed those and give it a fresh restart. So with that, let's jump in the game and see what it's like here. So to begin this, we're going to be playing at 1080p, and as you can see, I've turned off triple buffering. We have the reduced latency turned on, which does say here that it could lower the frame rate, but realistically with a game like this, you're probably going to want to have this turned on, even if it reduces your frame rate a little bit. I believe we're using DX11 because we're not using DX12. Usually for my system, DX12 runs a lot better with the 3060 Ti, so that's why I'm using it. It says custom here on the graphics preset, but we're using the lowest settings in the game. I found that the low preset didn't actually change everything to the lowest, so I went through manually turn everything off, and then I restarted the game. So yeah, we're playing at lowest settings in the game, 1080p, 100% resolution scale, and it does not look like this game actually has any sort of DLSS or anything right now. It has a resolution scale option, but that's about it, but it doesn't actually have like dedicated FSR and DLSS or anything like that, so kind of weird to see here in a game like this, but as long as the FPS is okay, I'm not bothered by it. So let's jump into a match. Now, I've never played this game. This is my first match going in. I don't know what to expect here, but as you can see with the VRAM U, which is the VRAM utilization that the game is using, there's nothing there because this game does have a anti-cheat. So yeah, I can't get that statistic, but we can still see how much RAM is actually being, or VRAM is being allocated to the game. We just can't see how much it's actually utilizing. Bear with my gameplay because I obviously have not played this yet, so I'm not gonna have a single clue as to what the hell's going on or what my equipment does. Oh, I just got killed. But yeah, I've been playing for a couple of minutes here while I've been letting my average FPS get to, well, the average FPS essentially, and as you can see, the averages are about 250 here at 1080p lowest settings, and the game has been really smooth. I have it installed on a Gen 4 NVMe, so should be no issues there, in terms of with the storage device that we have the game on. VRAM allocation is at 4.6 gigs right now, but realistically it's probably using a lot less than that. Games usually allocate more than they actually use. Oh my god, I just got spam grenaded, but whatever, right? I'm dead. But in terms of actual RAM usage itself, we're only at 12.7, which is really respectable. It's very little RAM that the game is actually requiring here to play, and we're sometimes creeping up to that 300 FPS range, which is kind of insane. Oh, there's some sort of sniper here just murdering everybody. Okay, snipers feels a little bit OP, to be honest. One-shotting people non-stop. It feels a little bit broken, not gonna lie. There we go, we got that guy. Not bad, not bad. And for the CPU usage, it is quite high there. It might not look it because we're at 36%, but that is a lot of CPU usage here for the Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. Alright, we got that guy. I've not played an FPS game in quite some time, to be honest. But I think that's going to do for 1080p, guys. 1% lows is at 140, but realistically, I can't feel any of it. It feels completely fine. So let's try 1440p. So there's a bug with the menu. It won't go to full screen mode. It won't let me. So there's a pretty big bug here. I can't actually get the game to go back to 1440p. It won't. It will not let me actually go to 1440p here, as you can see. I feel so bad for my team because I am just AFK, but it will not go to 1440p, guys. Like, actually, it will not go back to 1440p. It will not let me. It's been very annoying. Let me try it on another monitor here. No, it's not even going to another monitor. Like, I can't get it to go to 1440p. No, I'm gonna have to restart the game to do this. All right, so I've restarted the game because I actually had to restart the game to get 1440p to come back on. It didn't matter if I played in full screen, windowed full screen, borderless. It would not go back to 1440p. It was just going to some really weird resolutions like 1700 by something and yada yada, right? So I've actually had to go out of that match, so we might get a different map. Don't blame me, blame the game devs for having basic menus not work. So 1440p, we should be still on the lowest settings in the game, but I'm going to quickly eye it just to make sure it is on the lowest settings still. And yeah, the game's still on lowest settings, but now it's 1440p. Let's jump in a match and see what it's like here for those of you that want to play 1440p competitively, right? So yeah. Alright, so we just jumped into another match. This one was already started, I think, because it just brought me into a game really fast, which I'm quite happy about. You can't shoot through that bush. The sniper is so broken, clearly. Like, I'm sorry, that sniper is busted. It just one-shots you to the body. I mean, that's a bit overpowered in my opinion. But yeah, here at 1440p, FPS is quite a bit lower than 1080p, but still more than playable for a lot of people. I'm completely fine playing like this personally. But yeah, maybe if you're somebody who plays at 240 hertz, this won't be that great for you. But then again, you probably got a higher end GPU at that point, right? So there is that, right? In terms of VRAM usage, we are almost at 5 gigs allocated to the game right now, which is about a gig more than what we were seeing at 1080p. Man, the snipers in this game are so busted. It's completely fucking nuts. The average FPS here at 1440p, lowest settings in the game, is about 190 something, so it's not terrible, I don't think, personally. In terms of RAM usage, we're still at about the same, just underneath 13 gigs RAM usage, which is still completely fine, even if you had 16 gigs of RAM, right? So that is quite nice to see that you don't need a lot of RAM to play this game in particular. And in all honesty, the game, it feels really responsive, like it feels really good to play. In order to achieve these frames, though, you are going to need a somewhat decent CPU. It clearly is quite a CPU-intensive game as well. I'm going to test it with my old Intel Core i7-4790K, which is a decade old at this point, so I will test it on there. You know, I'm not expecting nowhere near as much FPS, of course, on that system, but yeah, it will be interesting to see. But I think that's going to do for 1440p. It's clearly playable for those of you that play at around that 200 FPS range. 1% loads are only a little bit lower than 1080p. 1% loads were at 133, and I believe 1080p was like 144 or something, so not that much lower. Alright, so we're back in the game. I've just restarted it because I've just applied medium settings here at 1440p. We're going to be doing this backwards now. We're going to be doing 1440p first, then 1080p, because I figured out that if I go into a match at 1440p, it allows me to still downscale to 1080p. It just has an issue when I load into a match. It doesn't let me upscale back to 1440p. So we'll do it reverse, essentially. So we're playing at 1440p. And we are using the medium preset. I'm skipping over the low preset because lowest was really close to low, so we might as well just skip over it, right? Medium did reapply VSync, so we're going to turn that off. And I wanted to show you that because it says it's custom graphics when I turn VSync off for some reason. But yeah, medium settings, as you can see here, this is what it applies by itself. And let's jump into a match and see how this is. And I cannot believe it, but it looks like the game is actually going to make me have to restart my game because I left VSync turned off before restarting. I actually have to restart my game to get VSync to turn off. That is actually insane that I have to restart the game. I've never played a game where VSync does not actually take effect straight away. So let me go ahead and restart my game. What an annoying thing. Alright, and one game restart later to apply VSync of all things to disable VSync. We are in the game here. 1440p medium settings, and FPS is still quite high. Now, in terms of graphical difference, I can't honestly see a difference in the graphics, and we're trying the sniper out here because it was so OP, right? So no, we're not playing that game. But yeah, playing here at 1440p medium settings, I really can't see that much of a difference between the medium and low graphics. In all honesty, I'd probably just play at low for the extra FPS. If you're going to even consider playing at medium, just play at lowest settings and get that extra FPS. Oh my god. In terms of VRAM, we are at 4.2 gigs here allocated, which is actually lower than when we were playing at 1440p lowest settings, which makes absolutely zero sense. So yeah, it is obviously brand new, this game, so there might be some bugs or something. There could be some memory leak issues or something in the game. I'm really not sure. I've got like 0 health. I shouldn't be contesting that. Come on. There we go. Got ourselves a cheeky kill assist. But yeah, average FPS so far is at about 170. So if you're playing at 165, 170 hertz, this is probably going to feel okay for you. And our actual RAM usage has decreased. We're at 11.5 gigs right now, which is quite a bit lower than the nearly 13 gigs that we were getting earlier. So this map must be less intensive. It's really hard to say. 1% lows are a little bit worse. We're at about 120 or 110 for 1% lows, which is not great, but I'm not feeling it. Basically, it feels smooth. It doesn't feel bad at all here at 1440p. Let's swap on to 1080p. So now we're at 1080p medium settings. As you can see here, everything's on medium. Let's jump back into the match. But yeah, here at 1080p, it looks like our averages, I've been playing for a couple of minutes, our averages are about 235. So if you got a 240 hertz monitor, this is probably going to be pretty good for you in all honesty. Our 1% lows are about 150, so a little bit better than what they were previously at 1440p lowest, it would seem. Or at 1440p medium, rather. I'm trying not to die right now because I am quite low on health. Oh, well, that solves the health issue, doesn't it? Let's try out a different gun. Let's try out the... Why don't we try out an SMG? Sure, we'll try an SMG, see how this is. I've not used this yet. These are my first games. It's reminding me a lot of like old classic Call of Duties, right? We have abilities though, it's a bit different. It is reminding me, funny enough, more of Call of Duty than what Call of Duty today reminds me of, if that makes any sense. Like Call of Duty is so far away from what it used to be that this game is actually feeling more like the old classic CODs than COD itself, which is kind of sad, but you know, whatever, right? Like I said in the low settings though, you are going to need a pretty beefy CPU to get these frames from this GPU, so yeah, you definitely need to make sure you don't skimp out too much on the CPU. Wow, this gun is way different to the assault rifle. Jeez, just in terms of like how it handles and stuff. You seem to be able to move much quicker with it, like your aim, that is. I don't know. Maybe it's just a placebo. I'm really not sure. I leveled up and we won the game. Not bad. That's going to do it for the medium settings here. I'm actually enjoying this game quite a bit. It's not bad. It's not bad at all, I don't think, personally. I don't like this part of the game. It doesn't let you leave. You kind of just gotta waste your time and wait for it. While I've been benchmarking here, the game takes forever to load up. Even on a Gen 4 NVMe, it's taken a while to load up. It takes like a minute to load the game, which might not sound like it's that big of an issue, but it is annoying, especially for me when I'm benchmarking, to have to wait constantly for things. And even just finishing a match takes too long to get in and out, as you can see, in my opinion. It needs to be snappy. It needs to like finish and you have the option to get out of there and go for another match. Of course, we can't have an FPS game these days without a battle pass, but let's go ahead and actually swap it over to medium or to high settings rather. All right, so I've restarted the game and we're now playing at 1440p. I am using the high preset. It says custom on the graphics quality preset because I did have to turn VSync off again, and I've restarted the game, of course, and I'm in a match right now. It actually found a game much quicker than I thought it would, so let's jump on in and see how this performs here. All right, so I've been playing here for a couple of minutes in this match, and yeah, we're actually averaging around 140 FPS here, so if you're somebody who plays at about 144 hertz or something, or 120 hertz, this is going to feel pretty good for you most likely. 1% lows are at about 115, which is, you know, quite a bit lower than what we've been seeing here on average, but it's still completely fine. I think, in all honesty, the game still feels smooth. I'm actually nearly top of leaderboard and I've only just got in here a few minutes ago, so it's clearly possible here to play decent at the game with this kind of FPS, because remember, I've only just started playing this game and I don't play FPS games very much anymore, or at least not PvP FPS games very much these days, so this is quite foreign for me. In terms of VRAM usage, we're at just under 5 gigs allocated to the game right now, so the 8 gigs is still fine here on high settings, and high settings is actually what it put me on. When I first loaded the game up, it actually suggested high settings for me. I just got shot in the side, but yeah, you can quite clearly see that it's more than fine here at 1440p high settings, and I'm having a decent time here. It's pretty fun. When I've actually been playing it without benchmarking, like without benchmarking, what I mean is without like talking, and I was just focusing on the game, I was having pretty good success here at this FPS and just generally having a good time, you know, just playing here. Alrighty, so that was enough of 1440p there at high settings. Now we're going to be playing at 1080p with the high settings, as you can see here, for round 2 of this match. It says custom on the preset just because we got VSync turned off, but yeah, those are the high settings. Let's jump on in. Here at 1080p, as you can see, on average, we're getting about 110 FPS here at high settings, which is pretty insane. VRAM usage, we're about 4.5 gigs allocated to the game right now, and our actual RAM usage is still sitting around 12 gigs, so we're still completely fine here to play the game at 1080p with these settings, as you can see. Now, that guy's hiding behind that. There we go. I don't have proper grenades, I just have flashbangs. My 1% lows throughout all of this have been at around 143, so, you know, if you are wanting to play this game, honestly, it runs really well. Like, it's nice to see that there's some games that are coming out that are still running quite well here. And in terms of like how smooth everything feels, it all feels really good. Like everything feels fast and responsive. Nothing feels like my gun presses or my trigger presses and stuff don't feel delayed. Everything feels really smooth. Like everything just feels good. It feels like a pleasant experience, which is quite nice, because there's been quite a lot of games, you know, within the last few years which have just really been really bad for performance, and also just for how they feel to play, right? Like really everything feels super delayed on some of them, but here it's completely fine at 1080p. So we'll go to the highest settings. We'll go to ultra and see what that's like, and hopefully it applies all the highest settings in the game, because some games do not do that. Obviously some games don't apply ultra settings on ultra. All right, so I've gone ahead and restarted the game. We're back at 1440p here. We are now using the ultra preset. It says custom because, you know, had to turn VSync off, of course, before restarting, and surprisingly it hasn't actually set everything to the ultra quality. It hasn't actually made everything maximum, essentially. As you can see, there's a couple settings that are not at maximum. Like we also had the object quality at 60% there out of 100, but yeah, this is ultra preset. Let's see how this performs here. I've been playing for a couple of minutes here, as you can see, and my average FPS right now at ultra 1440p is about 90 FPS, which is, it's still fine, but it's not as competitive, of course, as playing at 140 plus FPS. Obviously we're not in the triple digits anymore for the FPS, so it's not going to be as responsive. It's not going to be as good as playing at the higher refresh rates. Of course, it's still playable and it doesn't feel bad, and it's still very, very smooth. Like we're not getting a bunch of like hiccups and a bunch of spikes and stuff. It's just not as worth it, I think. If you're going to play at a high refresh rate, you might as well play at a high refresh rate rather and sacrifice visual clarity in the game, honestly. In a game like this, it's much more about how competitive you can be, right? Game doesn't actually look that much better, in my opinion. Like I personally would have no issues playing the game on lowest settings. Personally, I would much rather have that competitive edge as opposed to having the oh my god, my aim, as opposed to having like better graphics when it doesn't look that much different. You know, when it's such a fast-paced game that it really doesn't seem to matter like how good the game looks, in my opinion. Oh my god, that was terrible aiming, but thank god that guy couldn't kill me. In terms of actual VRAM usage here, ultra settings 1440p, we are only at 4.6 gigs, which is very bizarre because we were at 5 gigs on lower settings, so there must have been some sort of issue there. You know what, we're gonna steal an AK. I've not used an AK yet. Oh my god, it's out of bullets. Wow, this thing does some serious damage. That guy just melted. Like 3 bullets and he was gone. I'll tell you what, trading, just like dodging in and out, just trading hits with this heal seems pretty busted. But a lot of things seem to be very unbalanced in this game right now. I'm sure they're going to balance stuff out over time. There's a lot of one-shot guns. Like there's one-shot shotguns. If you're not even that close, it's one-shotting you. The snipers one-shot you. It just kind of feels like there's a lot of things that need tuning in this game. And I'm sure it'll get tuned eventually, because some things just seem a bit busted, you know. 1% loads are at mid-70s, which is not ideal, but yeah, the game, if you're just going to play this casually or you play at 60 hertz, this game, honestly, it feels fine like this. I am somebody who plays at 144 hertz, and this is feeling okay. But I can certainly tell it's not as responsive as 144 hertz. You know, you can definitely feel it, but it's not going to ruin my day, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So with that, let's try out 1080p here and see what it's like here for 1080p once I kill this guy. There we go. Alright, so I just set the graphics to 1080p. We are playing at the ultra preset, of course. It says custom because I had to turn VSync off. And yeah, with that, let's see what this performs like here. Here at 1080p ultra settings, we are seeing around, oh my god, gotta concentrate. We are seeing around 134 FPS on average here, which is not bad at all. Let me get back in my heal. There we go. Look how busted this heal is. Oh my god, I can just stand in it and just tank everything. I'm still at full health. How is that considered balanced? Look, I could just brute force. How long does this last? There was 2 people shooting at me. It's still not enough. We lost the game, but I played that for a couple of minutes as well. Average FPS there at 1080p was around 135, 136. 1% lows were around 100, 110. So definitely much more playable than 1440p, but it felt completely fine throughout all of that. 11 gigs of RAM usage, and for the actual VRAM, we're just above 4 gigs allocated, which means that we're probably using like 3.5 gigs of VRAM in the game right now. I just can't actually check because of the anti-cheat. But yeah, with that, I've been Verda, the FPS tester. Thanks for checking out the video. We're not going to try everything maxed out because I just don't feel like it's worth it. We're just going to stick to the ultra preset. So yeah, with that, I've been Verda. Thanks for watching the video. If you found any value out of this, please go ahead and leave me a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment if I missed something or if you want to see something else with this game. And until next time, guys, take care of yourselves and goodbye for now.